Welcome to this edition of National Focus. I'm Jarna Hector. Coming up, the Education Ministry addresses the concerns of Senegal parents, more calls to support the Education Trust Fund, and 2014 marks 25 years since the Convention on the Rights of the Child. Stay tuned for details of these and other stories after this.
One of the most destructive pests to agriculture is threatening our island. The giant African snail has the potential to destroy most of our crops, our vegetables, fruits, and other vegetation. This snail is larger than those usually found in our surroundings. The snail moves around mainly at night, but can be seen in the day after rain or in cool afternoons. Look for them and destroy them now.
The black cicatoka fungus can survive on banana and plantain leaves even after they have been cut from the tree. Farmers and hucksters are encouraged to use alternate cushioning material when moving produce from farm to the market. Do not use banana and plantain leaves as cushioning. It is against the law to move banana and plantain trash from the field. Obey the law and stop the spread of black cicatoka today.
Thank you for staying with us. Chief Education Officer Melena Fontaine has appealed to parents of students attending the Senegal Primary School to take ownership of the school operations by preventing persons in the community from vandalizing the school. Students of the Senegal Primary School returned to school on Tuesday following a successful meeting with senior education officials of the Ministry of Education, Carib Chief Garnet Joseph, and Parliamentary Representative for the Salibia constituency, Honorable Ashton Grano, on Monday. The school's Parent-Teacher Association took a decision last Wednesday to keep their children at home following an incident of vandalism at the school. The Chief Education Officer told parents, quote, "We have to work with the teachers and principals and as a body decide how we're going to address the issue of vandalism at your school." End of quote. Natalie Constance is head of the Education Planning Division. She says the Senegal Primary School is on the priority list for attention this summer to include the installation of burglar bars and new windows, as well as the repair of a courthouse at the school. The ministry has also assured parents that the school's plumbing issue would be addressed within the week, as a plumber contracted in April has already provided an assessment of the school's needs and is ready to begin work. And the final draft of a national land use policy for Dominica was officially submitted to Cabinet for its approval on Tuesday. The policy reflects the input of stakeholders on how the land in Dominica should be used, taking into consideration issues such as conservation, climate change, and housing development. The National Land Use Policy was prepared through a consultative process spearheaded by Dillon Consulting Group from Ottawa, Canada.
This National Land Use Policy very much reflects the values and the perspectives of Dominicans about how they value the land, the environment, and the future.
The National Land Use Policy is divided into 6 main sections covering 3 themes with respect to the future of Dominica's lands.
It talks about modernization and social and economic development. It talks about enhanced natural environment, forestry, and agricultural vitality. And it talks about resilience to climate change and natural hazards. These are things that are top of mind and front and center for Dominicans and reflect the feedback that we received over the months and weeks of working and collaborating with you.
The National Land Use Policy is a document which is easy to understand and was written from the perspective of Dominicans in keeping with the country's long-term development plans and policies.
Modernization and social and economic development is the first and the biggest section of policy in the document in Part 4. It talks about a wide range of things that you would expect all tie back to this theme of ensuring the country moves in a forward direction. It talks about settlement, it talks about infrastructure, it talks about making connections to communities, and a wide variety of other things.
Once the draft of the National Land Use Policy is approved by Cabinet, the consultants will put together a physical development plan to be employed with the land use policy. In other news, the business owner of the Signman, Ibrahim Brahim, has made an appeal to business enterprises in Dominica to consider giving much-needed support to the Education Trust Fund. Brahim's appeal came during a press conference organized by the Education Trust Fund and the Ministry of Education on Monday. The Signman business enterprise is one of several business concerns in Dominica, providing assistance to the Education Trust Fund.
I'll make an appeal to all my fellow business persons. While I know that they have really been putting in their fair share, but I guess the little extra that one can put and a little more that one can put, it will go a very long way towards assisting persons who really need that assistance, to further education. And when they further education, we know that they can come back and make their family much better and make Dominica a much better place.
Brahim said it's important that applicants exercise the highest level of honesty when seeking assistance from the Education Trust Fund.
When we decide to assist one or two persons, we go through our own, at the Signman, we go through our own little procedure also. And if we decide to assist Mr. So-and-so or Miss So-and-so, we call them in and also try and sit down and talk to them, find out their needs. And sometimes what happens sometimes we realize that the application is not for real, or maybe it's not honest, maybe it's not directed towards their education. There are times we've asked the person, the mother, the parent, or the child, can you get us, okay, you need assistance for books, can you get us a pro forma invoice? Let us see what it's costing. And there are times, honestly, what happens? This person does not show back. So it tells us that maybe that the assistance you're looking for, you want to direct it for something else, but you're making it sound like as if it's for the education you want it. And so there are persons, so as a result, what happens is that, if I may say, the good pay for the bad. And so the persons who you really think might really need it, you tend to somewhat shy away because of these experiences.
Local business support to the Education Trust Fund over the years have included retailers, religious groups, individuals, and financial bodies, among others.
We are very appreciative of the contributions that you have made in the past, and we are looking forward to your continued contribution, and we are hoping that this list will be longer the next time that we compile it.
The Education Trust Fund targets $50,000 in contributions annually. Education Minister Honorable Peter Seja also encouraged the business community in Dominica to support the fund. He says there are long-term benefits to be derived from such an investment.
Let me say to our corporate citizens out there that the investment that you make in a child's education today may just determine the continued success of your business venture. You may never know, but that child who you assist today may be the CEO of your business tomorrow. We are preparing individuals for the workforce, and I believe that here in Dominica there is need for us to better equip and to retool our workforce. And you are assisting us as government, as a ministry, in ensuring that we have a well-equipped, a well-educated workforce that can serve not only in the public, but also the private sector.
For decades, the Education Trust Fund has assisted students with textbooks, transportation and school registration and CXC examination fees. More recently, the fund has facilitated the payments of the school transfer grant, uniform allowance, and private bus drivers for student transportation to school. In other news, numerous government officials and stakeholders attended the opening ceremony of Africa Week on Monday, 19th May, celebrating solidarity in the African heritage. Acting Prime Minister Honorable Ambrose George is saddened by current conflicts in Nigeria. He sent a message to victims and Dominicans alike to remain optimistic, declaring that there is more to Africa than what is portrayed in the media.
Like all societies, Africa has its problems, and these are the things which receive media coverage. There's another side of Africa, the genius, the creativity, innovation, and economic progress, but these do not attract media attention. I am not suggesting in any way that we must sweep the problems under the carpet. We're in fact saddened and concerned about certain events and conflicts. The kidnapping of hundreds of schoolgirls by extremists has sparked global outrage. However, we have to remain optimistic. Africa is a huge continent with diverse peoples, cultures, and political context. We cannot paint all of Africa with the same brush. We cannot judge all of Africa with the same yardstick. But let us celebrate the positive while we reflect on the issues that beset Africa, the issues that beset us here in the Caribbean.
On a lighter note, Honorable George asked nationals to embrace the African heritage within the Commonwealth of Dominica.
Let's all celebrate our African heritage and identity. Let us focus on the bigger picture, broaden our vision, and expand our horizons. As urged on by the late Bob Marley, let us emancipate ourselves from mental slavery. In celebrating Africa Week, we demonstrate that we are no longer chained by old stereotypes, that we are free and independent thinkers. In celebrating Africa Week, we are celebrating ourselves. I offer my best wishes for a very successful Africa Week celebrations. May Jah bless us all. I thank you very much.
Also in attendance was the Honorable Minister for Culture, Youth Affairs and Sports, Honorable Justina Charles. The Culture Minister expressed that African culture is a vital element of Dominica's annual celebrations, everyday customs, and an individual's identity.
Our ancestry, our history, our culture, our identity are all rooted in Africa. We are well aware of the more obvious African elements of our culture, such as the sensei costume, which is very popular in the community that I come from, Grand Bay, the belly dances, the drumming tradition, and the Creole language. There are many other things we do every day that connotes our African roots. So the African element is a very important component of our culture and identity. We can boast of the positiveness of the black human race. We can boast of our people who kept and passed on special aspects of our African culture. Let us all continue to promote that spirit of brotherhood and love among us. Over the years, our cultural activists, poets, singers, dancers, and intellectuals have kept the African flame alive.
The Honorable Minister added that it is necessary to educate the youth on the integral role which African culture plays in invoking positive change.
Let us continue to educate our people to effect positive change. This is why the focus is on youth, and that focus for us and the involvement of the youth is very important. We need to encourage the youth through educational, cultural, and social activities which lead to a better appreciation of our African culture and identity, a better appreciation for the current realities in Africa, a better appreciation that will allow us to condemn particular outrages and on negative behavior that may be linked with our past.
Honorable Charles took the opportunity to commend the House of Nyabingi and the National Youth Council for assuring the success of Africa Week 2014.
Let me commend the members of the House of the Nyabingi for sharing their knowledge and promoting greater awareness of Africa and its true meaning to us and our younger generation. I thus commend also the National Youth Council for participating in the celebration of Africa Week and for organizing various activities targeting young people. As the main national youth representative body, the National Youth Council leadership on various issues is vital in mobilizing and engaging our young people.
Honorable Charles also says that her ministry and the government of Dominica will continue to support Africa Week celebrations. She is confident that Africa Week will become one of the signature events on Dominica's cultural calendar. And the United Nations General Assembly decided on Tuesday to convene a high-level meeting in November to commemorate the 25th anniversary of the adoption of the Convention on the Rights of the Child. That convention is to date the most rapidly and widely ratified international human rights treaty in history. UNICEF says the unprecedented acceptance of the convention clearly shows a wide global commitment to advancing children's rights. The convention deals with child-specific needs and rights. It requires that states act in the best interest of the child. Governments of countries that have ratified the convention are required to report to the UN Committee on the Rights of the Child periodically to be examined on their progress with regards to the status of child rights in their country. The Convention on the Rights of the Child acknowledges, among other things, that children have the right to express their opinions and to have those opinions heard and acted upon when appropriate. It also specifies that children be protected from abuse or exploitation and to have their privacy protected. UNICEF has stated that the convention has changed the way children are viewed and treated as human beings with a distinct set of rights instead of passive objects of care and charity. The Child Focus Agency says, quote, "There is much to celebrate as we mark the 25th anniversary of the convention, from declining infant mortality to rising school enrollment. But this historic milestone must also serve as an urgent reminder that much remains to be done." Nations that ratify the Convention on the Rights of the Child are bound to it by international law. Compliance is monitored by the UN Committee on the Rights of the Child, which is composed of members from countries around the world. And that's the English news. McPherson St. Luce is next with the Creole highlights.
Allô tout le monde, bienvenue à cette nouvelle en créole. Non, moi, c'est McPherson St. Luce. Premièrement, ministre de l'Éducation, quand il fait un public là, web application monde qui a sollicité assistance for Education Trust Fund. Parole celle-là sortie du ministère de l'Éducation, Honorable Peter Saint-Jean.
Tout le monde qui voyait en application, nous avons gardé l'application, nous avons un board, nous avons différents membres board là, en différents parties Dominique, communes Dominique, et ils connaissent ces gens-là, ils ont gardé ces applications là, et presque tout ils ont trouvé, mais depuis en l'idée, ils ont quoi, les gens là mérité, ils ont besoin d'assistance là, ils ont trouvé assistance là.
En d'autres nouvelles, le gouvernement de Dominique n'a pas appelé pour finaliser le plan pour terre, ça ou land use policy pour payer là. Le gouvernement a contracté une compagnie Dillon Consulting au Canada pour assister et puis préparation policy là, aussi en physical development plan. La compagnie là travaille bien pour et puis département planning, à une manière de développer plan national là. Officier compagnie là, Rohit Basque, présente un document qui a finalisé qui a concerné policy là pour stakeholders pendant une session lundi semaine là. Basque fait parole que les policiers là qui prend en considération bagaille qui en l'intérêt public là et puis qui aussi assister puis développement futur pays là. Policiers là qui mettent attention à ce développement, infrastructure, bagaille comme pont et puis développement communauté, environnement naturel et puis agriculture qui aussi tapé place en policiers là. Draft policiers là aller devant cabinet mardi pour considération. À la nouvelle, le département pompier a fait parole comment il a reçu plusieurs appels au public là qui avant. Sinon, chef département là, Josiah Diop, il a continué le travail à l'intérêt public là.
Dès l'année qui est passée, pour 2 années, nous avons vu que nous avons tapé 7 000. Et c'est la première fois, nous jambé 6 000. Ça n'a pas un problème pour nous parce que nous avons affaire pour un des mondes. Depuis où nous avons essayé de comprendre ça, emergency uni, pour nous ça répondre. Mais moi ka dit c'est un gros travail nous qu'a fait, moi ka dit nous a passé 7000 et ça qu'a dit nous en département d'IFE nous ni pour focus peut-être il moins plus en travail ambulance parce que c'est un gros travail et plus en plus nous ka voir monde qui courir pour ambulance plus qui avant c'est peut-être il a peut-être monde ni plus accès pour que département d'IFE mais vraiment d'état nous qu'a dit nous qu'a taper plus calls comme ça nous pour préparer nous en training nous pour préparer nous en équipement nous pour préparer nous en customer relations pour nous faire certain là nous toucher au monde là qui dit vraiment un professionnel toucher moi aujourd'hui.
Finalement, le ministre de la Santé a informé le public là que service CT scan oui commencer à l'hôpital Princess Margaret Hoadley 20 mois là. Le gouvernement Dominique pour tuer morceau équipement salam a valu plus que $1 million l'argent. Morceau équipement salam a un service à l'hôpital là. Officier département radiologie déjà tapé traitement manière pour servir morceau équipement là et puis pour tenir les en ordre. Ministre santé a créé à ce public là pour tenir appointement à eux et puis continuer vivre en bonne santé. Messieurs, mesdames, ça c'est tout pour nouvelle en créole pour à présent. Non, moi c'est McPherson Luce. Au revoir.
Stay tuned for a tip on reducing your cancer risk.
What's for dinner?
I know, but you want Cheryl.
Who? Cheryl? Oh, babes, that's nothing.
Nothing within there, but that is nothing.
Hon,
come
on.
Whatever.
You know you're my number
But
one.
she's number what, 10? Plenty married women get engaged from the husband these days. I don't want to be one of them. From now on, I'm looking out for me.
But babes, I only talk to the woman.
Until I'm certain this will take care of both of us, if you're lucky.
Your family depends on you. Don't take home aids.
In-studio discussions, insight, Creole News, Road to the Throne, Calypso, Creole Festival, Carnival, and lots more local programming. See it all on the Government Information Service, your first for local news.
Right up there on the list of scary diseases is cancer, and it's becoming increasingly clear that a meat-cancer connection exists. In one study of 35,000 women, those who ate the most red and processed meat were found to have the highest risk of breast cancer. Other research has linked meat consumption to colon, prostate, pancreatic, and gastric cancers as well. One theory, according to the non-profit group The Cancer Project, is that foods with high levels of fat artificially boost the hormones that promote cancer. And that's all for this edition of National Focus. We always welcome your suggestions and comments. Drop us an email at gis@dominica.gov.dm or visit our website news.gov.dm. Friend us on our Facebook page, facebook.com/GISNewsDominica. You can also catch up on past National Focus newscasts on our GIS Dominica YouTube channel. From all of us here on the GIS News Desk, thanks for watching and join us again next time on National Focus.